Welcome everyone, welcome. CHIMAOGE here. Welcome to CHIMAOGE's Comments. Welcome to the first ever aggression segment that is also a Hand of God segment. I know it's been about a month since I've gone live anywhere. I've just been doing other behind the scenes work, but I'm back. Anyway, this live stream is to give out the core idea for a raw clip I just released here of basically the same name, and to also promote that same raw clip. Let me take a second to get settled, and then I'll share this around and do the official greeting. Let me bring my maraca today. I will say though, even though this is my first live stream in a month, I've published some other pre-recorded videos, long form, and then I've done a bunch of shorts. So, I mean, not like my max volume of shorts, but I've done shorts. You see me comment on the World Cup if you've been watching. The round of 16 is over, by the way. Anyway, I'll go into that in a future video, but you know, I've been around, just not doing this. Anyway, let's put up the short. Yes, and let's share this. Boom, Neptune, Neptune, kaka. Neptune, 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 baba. Kamala, 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 kaka, kaka. Kamala, kara, Kamala, hamamadio, Mamadio ho he hey ho ha. Mamadio ho he hey ho ha. Mamadio ho he hey ho ha. Mamadio ho money junua. Amadio ha. I've registered viewers. Thank you very much. Every view is a blessing. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I see the comment. Thank you very much. Every comment is a blessing. I read comments at my discretion. Mamadio ho he hey ho ha. Mamadio ho he hey ho ha. What am I saying? I am the good husband of the people, aka the God of thunder. And then I'm just adding stuff to it, like power sounds. Ooh. Is basically I. Again, this, I'm just going word by word. Boom. Boo, to be, the verb to be. Duality to that. First, you are, like it's part of you. Second, you boom it out. It's part of you and you boom it out. It's what you project. And the is just another word to mean me. That's how my language works. Look up Igbo language, okay? I have my own position on what it should be called and what it's connected to, but that's a good reference point. Anyway, I boom, I am, and I boom out. Amadioha, the good husband of the people, aka the God of thunder. I'm just singing, bigging myself up. Amadioha, he hey hoo ha. Amadioha, he hey hoo ha. Amadioha, money junua. Amadioha, money webu, webu. Webu kara chebu nua. Chim chim sharu. Amadioha. Amadioha, he hey hoo ha. 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 Amadio, madio, madio, he hey ha ha. Amadio, madio, madio, he hey ha ha. Amadio, madio, madio, he hey ha ha. I'll read this question from Out of Touch Larry. Shout out to you. On a scale of 12 to 66, how would you rate mayonnaise? I would rate it negative 66. Abumonyo G. Kamala Kara Kamala Hamamadiyo. What's that one? The God of Thunder overcomes himself. Just he's big, And it's hard to believe. Come look at that. Come look at my deal. Anyway, thank you to everyone who's joined me so far. Thank you to everyone who will join in the future. Welcome. My name is CHIMAOGE. And again, this is an introduction for the new people. My name is Chijioke, that's my given name, all right? I founded and own this enterprise here, CHIMAOGE's Comments. It's a network that's part of my larger media company, Ibenwuku. I own and operate it myself. I mean, some people helped me on some projects before, but you know, overall I run it myself. Anyway, and again, no one creates themselves, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway, what am I saying here? Let me give you 4 big pieces of information about myself to help you understand me better. And then I'll go into this segment more. First, my government name is Chijioke Ibe. That last name is spelled I-B-E. Second, I was born in what is now considered to be Washington, D.C., the southeast part. Third, I was born during Capricorn season. I like to call it Capricorn time. And fourth, I'm currently 28 years old. Let's go. All right, I'm gonna try something a little different today. Let me just read the idea. You can see it here, and then I'll explain, and then I'll go again. Okay. So the title of this video is Neptune is the god of thunder, and then aggression. That's the segment. And it's based on the title of this idea, which is Neptune is a Madioha, the hand of heaven. Okay, that's the title of the upcoming future video that the raw clip I released is part of the basis of, okay? So this is both to put the idea out more and to advertise both that raw clip, which is already out, and that video, which is upcoming. Okay. So, Neptune is a Madioha, the hand of heaven. That's the title. So, let me just explain first what it means when I'm saying Neptune is a Madioha. I'm saying he's the god of thunder. Neptune, according to most modern accounts, unless I've been very successful the last few months, is the so-called Roman god of the sea. I'm just saying that that entity, 1, exists, and 2, should be more broadly defined as that. And one aspect of that is it's also the god of thunder. Okay. And to add more to that, Amadioha is the name for the god of thunder, which literally translated means the good husband of the people. What's the idea behind that? Basically, in order to be a good apex leader, well, let me think of the best way to explain it. Okay, basically I'll say it like this. Being a good husband is a good quality, okay? It's a sign of goodness. And being a good husband to a large group, okay? Because again, monogamy is not good. Being a good husband to a large group is even better. So Amadioha is the good husband of the people. He performs that function both spiritually and, where relevant, literally to the people at large. So therefore, he's a big man. And that big man is the god of thunder and the apex leader, okay? It has many qualities, all right. Anyway, that's what that's about. Now let me get into the individual points. Again, these are 5 points to go deeper and provide evidence for the idea that Neptune is the god of thunder, aka Neptune is a Madioha. All right. So first, Neptune is famous. Neptune is famous. What am I saying here? The person, Neptune, or if you want to call him archetype, is just very famous and well known. So the god of thunder is the apex leader archetype, both has and gives off the character of being well known. So that's just one overlapping quality there. Okay. Second, Neptune is an Onyeka whose biggest optional save name is Amadioha. What am I saying here? Neptune is a person, Onye, but is a person that is more expansive than people like me and you who can only exist in one place and time, okay? Unless you want to consider this video me copying myself. Let me put up another short. Anyway, what's the point? I'm saying he's a supernatural entity and he's big. And these supernatural entities are so complicated that their multiple bodies can take on different names. They have different given names. So they can take up a multitude of different given names, but they have some that fit them the best. The one that fits Neptune the best is the name Amadio. Okay, that information came to me via spirit. Again, some of this evidence is from researching physical things. Some of this evidence is from communication with spirits, and then some is a mix, of course. Anyway, third, this is the third piece of evidence. The god of the sea and the god of the thunder, the god of the sea and the god of thunder have an inherent connection. Why am I saying that? Because of the nature of thunder. Thunder is known to be a phenomenon related to lightning. Lightning is created from clouds. What are clouds? Clouds are water in gaseous form. There's obviously a lot of water in the sea, big connection there. And then if you think about the nature of the sea when it's storming, you'll likely have thunder and lightning as well. So there's inherent connection there. What am I saying here? It's very unlikely that something would be connected to one of those things and not the other. Let me walk. Yeah, just went for a walk. My ancestors told me something a little disturbing, but anyway. Yeah, let me just go on. Anyway, point 4. And again, this, I would say this point comes from a mix of physical and spiritual research. Neptune is primarily part of the thing Amadioha, which 1 can be called by his name and 2 contains other saints named Amadioha. What am I saying here? Basically, according to spirits and then also the logical conclusions of my physical research and thought, Neptune is so deeply connected to the god of thunder that 1 is it and 2 is a part of it. Let me break it down a bit. 1, to me, the god of thunder is a thing just because when you look at all the information we have about it, it's too broad to be one person, okay? You have many tales that label a person or entity the god of thunder, and they contradict other tales, even though they give off central qualities of the god of thunder. What am I saying? It's a thing, there are multiple people in there, right? And then according to spirits, right, all of the god of thunder can be called by his name because there are many ways to refer to it. Different people refer to it by different things, and it's so vast and expansive that it can't just have one name. But anything that's big and integral to the god of thunder in some form can gift its name to the thing, right? And then 2, Neptune isn't the only person in there named Amadioha. Side note, I use the word saints. That's another term you can use for the expansion people apparently, but it's not exact. Because if you just say saint like that, apparently that means nonsense or deer. Ella, the watcher, the father of evil. Let me Anyway, that's a point there. And then here's the 5th point. So looking at my paper here, the way I wrote these notes was weird. I did these a few months ago. Even that video clip that's up now, it's the first one I released on CHIMAOGE's Comments. First pre-recorded video I've released long form in a few months. I didn't want it to go that long. But anyway, really, if I go 5 months between pre-recorded video posts, I get annoyed. It's not that big of a deal, but I get annoyed. I don't know, I just think the number 5 looks a little weird. Anyway, this is the 5th point. Neptune is an apex leader / world leader. Neptune is an apex leader / world leader. Obviously, that idea of him being the god of the sea is he's the ruler of the sea. What am I saying here? That thing, the quality of being an apex leader belongs to the god of thunder. So any apex leader to some extent is part of the god of thunder. Anyway, those are my points. So overall, what am I saying? We just got to look at these archetypes we were given and unite them and broaden our understanding. It's helpful on many different levels. It can be hard to immediately see the use of very basic knowledge until you zoom out and go, well, it allows me to know where I am. So that's my position on this. Anyway, now let me give a bonus piece of information. Eat Brussels sprouts. Eat Brussels sprouts. They're good for you. Let me give another bonus piece of information because the way I structure things, when I give the main points of an idea, I'm going to add a bonus piece of information to that. Then I have a different segment that I'm now just calling the Uku, which could be translated as the base of energy. Let me just say that. I don't like English. Anyway, so that one will have its own separate bonus piece of information as well as other things. You'll see that now. So let me start with the next bonus piece of information, which is just have multiple healthy romantic relationships. Have multiple healthy romantic relationships. And please read that entire sentence. All right, next, the hand of God, giving out a relevant piece of metaphysical information. What's this one? Define Ezua, a world leader in your own terms. How would I define that? I would say that a world leader is any person really, it can be an entity, but just for now, let me say any person that is so gravitational and clouded that when they speak and move, other people react and at least partially react positively. And I'll leave it at that. Yes. So I'll just say that. Yeah, that's what a world leader is. I'll give 2 examples of world leaders that aren't commonly acknowledged now. 1, pastors. Yes, I don't like pastors. Obviously, there'll be individual pastors that are exceptions, but you know what I mean overall. But again, the role of the pastor, that's a world leader. And 2, professional athletes. Okay, my opinion of them is more positive, even though I still have criticism. But anyway, those are 2 examples of world leaders. Don't always think of what we now call political leaders, because that's not one thing. Okay, there are many ways to lead. Anyway, now let me do the double question. First, do you worship any supernatural entities? Do you worship any supernatural entities? And second, do you like your name? Do you like your name? I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Let me take a pause and I'll reshare this live stream and I'll give these points again. Yes. Come on, look, come on. Abumingore monemi henua, abumingore negezenua, abumingore mere sanso neba, abumamadio hey ha, kamalakara madio hey ha, ha, abumamadio hey ha, abumamadio hey ha, abumamadio hey ha, abumamadio say susa. All right, let me reshare this thing. And then, actually, let me take time. I'll answer this question. What about dark entities, forgotten gods, and demons? Thank you, Sherry Charlie, for this. I'll spend some time on this. Let me say 4 things. But before that, let me say one big thing. While we should be conscious that there are dark entities out there, we should not be obsessed with them. Because at the end of the day, the only reason you'd be obsessed with dark entities, and really it's better to call them evil entities, the only reason you'd be obsessed with evil entities is if you're seeing them all the time. And if you're seeing and encountering them all the time, something's wrong. Just don't be there, and I'll leave it at that. Let me walk. All right, here are my 4 things about dark entities. I'm just gonna go. 1, I think people are so mentally weak in the world today, they don't fully understand how to assess whether or not an entity is evil or not. I think most people go, it made me uncomfortable, and on top of that, the powers that be didn't tell me it's good or whatever, therefore it's evil. No. Like, you're not supposed to be comfortable with everything. I'll give you an example. In nature, there are many animals that it's unpleasant to watch eating. Let's look at the gray wolf, okay? That's a manifestation of Neptune, okay? That's his base category of existence, okay? Yes, he's the wolf. Look at my art where I put up that wolf with the trident. That's what I'm talking about, okay? Have you ever seen wolves eat? And caveat, we shouldn't pretend we've seen them eat most of the time. Maybe when we're not watching them, they're using fork and knives. Who knows? But you get what I'm saying. We don't understand the full breadth of how they consume things because they're another category of life. But what are the images we have? They look kind of rough. Does that mean wolves are evil? No. It just means you don't like watching wolves eat. That's one example. Another example, let me branch out. Let's talk about sports. Certain players are unpleasant to watch, but they're effective. Does that mean the player is evil? No. Anyway, I think you guys get my point. So because of that, people don't even know how to judge whether or not physical beings are evil. And then they start trying to adjudicate spirits. So that's my first point. Basically, it's kind of a flag on the play. That leads me into my next point. And this is tying back to the central point. You shouldn't be obsessed with evil entities. People are not healthy. People should focus more on getting healthy. If you're healthy, the devil will not even try you. Let me move. So that's it. Then let me go to my other 2 points. These will focus on entities that I think are actually evil. And let me just say this. Any entity that I call upon in prayer and or constantly talk about in a positive light is not evil. So Neptune is not evil. I'll leave it at that, okay? I mean, it's not evil. So, point 3. God. God is an evil entity. Why do people worship God? Because evil physical beings force their ancestors to pay some sort of reverence to God, and now they do it. And then we just have people who for various reasons have not overcome that. I'm going to be respectful for now. But God is an evil entity. I've talked about that many times. I'll just say it again. How can someone who is all-powerful and all-knowing be all good if they allow evil to exist and also do not create any sort of peer? That is an abusive person. And I'm just going to add this. There's so much abuse in the world today that we have to look at the worship of God in that context. And I'll leave it at that. People have just become too comfortable with excusing abusive figures. If he's all powerful, why would he not create someone to oversee him? Let me move. So, God is an evil entity, and as a side note, so is the spirit that can accurately be called Jesus, okay? That is just a manifestation of the destruction of civilization, okay? You know, that there's historical people who've been mixed in there. I'm talking about the actual spiritual entity, right? And then so are things like angels, okay? These are all the same entities, the devil, okay? I'll get into that in the 4th point. But this is the thing. A lot of the reason people engage with these entities is they're obsessed with English, okay? When I'm saying God is evil, I'm talking about 1, the God concept, which is something he projects. But then 2, I'm looking at the word God and the entity that can accurately be called God. They're, I mean, like, they're just, should this be point 4? Let me just keep talking. You see, praying with your eyes closed like so many Christians do is a problem because you don't know which spirit flew over your head. So people shut their eyes, they say God, and then at least after they come up, they say, I felt good. And then they go, I love God, I have a good relationship with God. What are you talking about? What if it was Deus? Okay, my ancestors tell me Deus, which is regarded as a Latin word for God. Apparently it's also my language. Again, language is broken. Deus means a Madioga, okay? Fine, that term sounds cool to me. Chukwu, in my language, now most people call it Igbo. People use it to mean God. Side note, my ancestors told me the other word people commonly use, Chineke, is actually an evil entity. That makes sense because it sounds weird. Anyway, let me go into that another time. Chukwu, good. Chineke, not good. What we Dios. I know in Spanish people use that word to mean God. Apparently that means a Madioga. But then, you know, people get to English, they're talking about God. Just go deeper than the word. Is a person just the word you call them by? And then figure out who or what you're talking to. You shut your eyes, you felt good. What was that about? Figure it out. Let me move. Shugu, shugu, abum shugu, acharam shugu, amaram shugu, abum shugu. Let me actually spend a bit more time on this, because we live in a world of English supremacy. Let me go through examples of what I'm talking about with God, okay? Because really, that's the evil entity that's causing us the most problems. Because let's be real, the devil and all those other things, really, if I'm bringing that up to you, I'm just being mean to an evil person, which can be necessary. No one in their right mind is worshiping the devil or engaging with the devil. And I have to say this, if you're reading a lot of fiction that depicts the devil and it's not just using him as the villain or whatever, and even that can be sketchy, you're going too far. Don't just be staring at the devil. There's a subculture of staring at the devil and satanic things. Let me move. Because you see, we're in a world dominated by English-speaking Christianity. What does that mean? People think in terms of a binary. They see the word God, they say he's good, all his people are good. They see the devil, they say he's bad, all his people are bad, and then they go, if you're bad, you're like the devil. And then you have some weirdos who say, I'm bad, they side with the devil. Anyway, let's go through this. English. Words used for God. God refers to a bad entity. Jehovah. Apparently that means LA. And I'll be honest, I haven't heard too many people pray to Jehovah, but when I've heard that, I just kind of look. That's some pretty good evidence. And then, you know, there are a lot of names. People go into that Bible, they find an obscure one. That's probably LA, okay? If they're referring to God or whatever. Then you have entities associated with God. Angel. Apparently that's the final form of the devil. Beelzebub. Apparently, emo, Beelzebub, angel. What does that name refer to? Vagueness. It's a vague entity. You don't know what he is, he doesn't know what he is, and he uses that vague gray area to hurt people. If you really think about it, it makes sense. What exactly is an angel in common conception? You see some person wearing funny clothes with wings. What are they doing most of the time? They come out of nowhere to give you a message. So, you know, you got that. Now let's do the big one, Jesus. And this is the Jesus-God complex. Because let's be real. Because of the existence of the Old Testament God, the spiritual aspect of God is more salvageable than the spiritual aspect of Jesus. Let me go into this. A lot of that Old Testament God, that's the God of thunder. What is he doing? He's striking down evildoers. He's striking down evil. Now, the depiction's not quite right, but at least overall, that idea is useful. Justice can be swift and harsh when necessary. And I'll leave it at that. But you see, we live in a world full of criminals. Criminals do not like justice. So they mixed it up, and they said that when the New Testament came around, God became Santa Claus. Let me move. Come on, look at him and you. So you have Jesus. You see, there's three Jesuses. The first Jesus is the Jesus that you see in three different versions when you read the first three Gospels: Matthew, Mark, and Luke. That is just basically a worldly social revolutionary. That's what you see there. Although he prays and he scares people. I like the end of the Gospel of Mark. When he came out, he said something to his followers and they ran away because they were afraid. Sometimes you need to scare people. But when they come out of that Bible and they're talking about Jesus, Jesus is nice. When I read that Bible, Jesus was turning over tables in the temple. Anyway, that's Jesus 1. Jesus 2 is whatever the heck you see in, what's that last gospel? The Gospel of John. I don't know what that is. My ancestors, they want me to stick to the point. Let me get into it. The Gospel of John, what did Jesus say? Jesus say, I'm not God, but I'm not like you people, and just gave a bunch of vague quotes about himself. Okay, he called himself, what is it? The Logos, I'm the Word. And he just said, I'm not really a person. Okay, that's interesting, Jesus. That's Jesus 2. What is Jesus 3? Jesus 3 is what most Christians do with him. He's a cartoon character who comes out to give you a hug when you do something wrong and tells you basically you can keep going. So you see, those are the three Jesuses. Jesus 1 I can rock with. The question is whether or not that's a real person, okay? Because it looks like it's a conglomeration of multiple different people, okay? And this is where I get annoyed with cults. Cults just pick up one interpretation, they get obsessed with it, and they don't want to hear logic, okay? We can just unpack what that is. Jesus 2 is just weird to me. Jesus 3 is my real problem. And I'll leave it at that. But then you have Jesus 4, which is the one my ancestors told me about, which plays a big inspiration in these other Jesuses. You see, that's an expansion person. It's the same as one of the two entities you can call the devil. And I'll leave it at that. Let's go into my fourth point about evil entities. And then I'll read these points again about Neptune, and we can be on our way. You see, let me tell you, apart from Jesus and his friends, okay, let me tell you about the 4 evil entities I'm most concerned with. These are spiritual entities now. And the caveat to this is I'm most concerned with the people in this world that manifest these evil entities, okay? Because without people, physical people, these evil entities can't do anything, all right? And I'll leave it at that. First, Ele, the father of evil. Nonsense, the deer, all right? I know some people eat venison. I'm more of a beef guy. Let me move. You see, my ancestors can be mean. I'll tell you about it later. Anyway, again, we're still different people. The problem is they authorize my movements, but at the end of the day, this is still my body. Anyway, one, Ele, the father of evil. You can't even process him. The worst person in existence, Hapu Lele, but I'm worried about him. Number two, the devil. This is the second devil. This is the biggest devil. I'll give two examples of things that he's inspired in a negative way. One, the nonsensical behavior of modern superheroes. The superhero that's always in that costume, fighting the criminals, but one, never unites with higher powers, and two, never makes any social progress. That's the devil. A lot of people view themselves like that devil. They put on a costume, they say I'm fighting for good, and the fight never gets any traction. And then they tire themselves out. Not good. That's one thing. Two, modern parenting. Blame the child, attack the child. People even use so-called corporal punishment. That is the devil. That is especially. Let me move. So, we have LA. We have the devil. Number three, this is one I'm debuting anew. I've said it before, but this is the full debut. I won't use all of his names. We have what we call my language, Otumwe, the one holder. And I'll leave it at that for now. Otumwe, the one holder. This is an entity who, in a strategy to delete life, obsesses over one thing. And I'll leave it at that. The biggest way this is manifesting in the world today is people who tie all of their pleasure to one person or thing. An example of this is monogamy. You want one person to be your only source of pleasure. Not good. They're not God. Two, modern work culture. One job will satisfy me, child. Number four, good old Ekwensu. You see, we can't get rid of Ekwensu, but he can't run riot. Biggest way Ekwensu is running riot in the world today, excessive writing, and I'll say this, writing without context. You see, when babies are learning to communicate, they don't open up a book to read. They're looking at your face, they're trying to talk. So if you're trying to talk to someone properly, why do you just give them words? You don't show your face. Anyway. That's my take on evil supernatural entities. Those are the one I'm worried about. To close that off, I'll say two things. One, if you can't process an evil entity, that is Ele, that is nonsense. That is the father of evil. Stop trying to process it and defend yourself. Two, Before you start looking at spirits, look at people. But if someone comes to you and says, I looked at a bunch of people, I don't know what was going on, I think it's spiritual, don't be an atheist. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, did I reshare this stream? I might have done one. Let me just do it again. Let me add some words to this. Yes. Abumadiyo he hey ha. Abumadiyo he hey ha. Kamala karamadiyo he hey ha. Kamala karamadiyo he hey ha. Abumadiyo he hey ha. Abumadiyo Madio he hey ha. He hey ha. Abu Mario ha he hey ha. Abu Mario ha he hey ha. Kamalakara Madio ha he hey ha. I am live now on CHIMAOGE's comments. Let's just leave it at that. Don't want to MkwoOrie Kwensu. Abumadiyo ha he hey ha. Abumadiyo he hey ha. Abumadiyo ha. I go no sa. Amadiyo ha. Abumadiyo ha he hey ha. Abumadiyo he hey ha. Abumadiyo ha he hey ha. Abumadiyo he hey ha. Ah. Network connection was lost. Oh no. Oh no. Uh-oh. Anyway, I got one off. All right. Uh-oh. Madio ha he hey ha ha. Madio he hey ha. Kamala karamadio ha zi say saw. Kamala maramadio ha abumya. Madio ha he hey ha ha. Madio ha he hey ha ha. Madio ha he hey ha ha. Madio he hey ha ha. Madio ha he hey ha ha. Madio ha he hey ha ha. Kamala kara madyoha ni mewa. Kamala kara madyoha si se saw. Madio he. All right. Anyway. All right. Let's get it. Yes. Thank you to those of you who've been here and those of you who know me. Once again, I'll redo the introduction for the new people. Here are 4 things that you can use to get to know me better. They might be a little different than the first time. First, my alternate white structured name is Chijioke Ibenwuku. Second, my foremost nickname is MAOGE, MAOGE. Yes. Third, I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. And fourth, my astrological moon sign is Pisces. Azu Amadioha. All right, let's go. What am I talking about now? I'm talking about how Neptune, the god of the sea, is also the god of thunder. The title of this version of that idea is Neptune is Amadioha. And this is an idea that will centrally be part of a Hand of Heaven video, the first ever one that's coming up in the future. But I've already given it out in a raw clip that'll be part of that video. Check that out on the pre-recorded videos section, okay? And you see the title of this one, this live stream, Neptune is the god of thunder. Let me read the points. But before that, let me just translate Amadioha for you. Amadioha is the name for the god of thunder that, just to say in a way people can quickly understand, is commonly used among the Igbo people in the world today, in West Africa, modern day, what is known as Southeast Nigeria, okay? That is the group of people that, if you want to be very lazy, I come from. Why do I say that? That's a classification, okay? You know, we need to look into the names that have been applied to us and the exact parameters of the group. Basically, the idea behind Igbo people is that it's a tribe. I'm of the opinion that the demarcations are not accurate enough to say it's a tribe, but that's the idea. Anyway, just look it up, IGBO in Igbo language. Anyway, Ama, good. Ma also means knowledge. It can also mean a knife, okay? People say my MMA, I think it's the same thing. Anytime in my language, I'm of the opinion when you have two words that are very similar, they're just two different versions of the same word. At most, one version is just talking about a different aspect of the central thing. If you think about it, knowledge is cutting. Knowledge cuts through ignorance. And if you think of a knife or a blade, it's good in the sense that it divides up what needs to be divided. Everyone gets their share. Let me move. All right, anyway, Ama, good. D, husband. Oha, the people. Amadioha. Let me be an Enrinri, a food. One of those animals we call the cockroach right now. There are two ways to really translate this. You can start by stacking from left to right, in that saying the first word is the noun and the other two are adjectives, okay? Which is the more common way. Well, let me not get into that. Let me just say this one way. So, Ama, good. So then you go Amadi, the goodness of the husband. And what kind of husband? The goodness of the husband of the people. So you could say Amadioha is the goodness of the husband of the people. But then you have the other way of translating it, which is where you just read the three words. Ama, good. D, husband. Oha, the people. And then you just wake up and put it together in a way that's cool. The good husband of the people. But let's go back to the first one. Let's go back to Ekwensu. If you want to say Amadioha means the goodness of the husband of the people, why would that not also be the good husband of the people or something like that? Especially when you look at the context in which the word is used. I hope you get what I mean. Anyway, why is that name given to the god of thunder? Because being a good husband is a good quality. And if you're that big of a husband, you're a big man. So that's the idea. Anyway, Neptune is a Amadioha. Let's give the points. I think I'll run through them quickly and then I'll be out of here. I'm approaching the hour mark. First, and again, these are all pieces of evidence that Neptune is the god of thunder. Neptune is famous. Neptune is famous. Fame is a quality of the god of thunder. 2, Neptune is an Onyeka whose biggest optional save name is Amadioha. What am I saying? Neptune's a big supernatural being, according to my ancestors. And I mean the ones who've communicated with me directly. Okay, yes, it's possible to communicate with spirits directly. And yes, also, by the way, I've undergone training to communicate with spirits. I don't like emphasizing that because there's this culture of thinking that, you know, someone else needs to drape a sheet on your head and babble a bit before you can talk to spirits. I'm not that guy. You know, my thing was not that extreme, but you know, I did undergo some training. So I have a certification. I think I even did get a certificate. Anyway, I've talked about that a bit before. That ended up being part of a much larger saga that I'm still trying to resolve. But anyway, what's the point here? I got this from spirits. Neptune is a big supernatural being. You can call it Onyeka, an expansion person. And, you know, one of his deepest names is Amadioha, okay, in addition to Neptune, which means something else, but you know. The names are very closely associated. Anyway, Third, the god of the sea and the god of thunder are inherently connected because of the relationship between thunder and water. And then also, if you think about it, when there's a storm on the sea, you'll see thunder and lightning. Anyway, so how could you be connected to one, not the other? Doesn't make sense. Fourth, Neptune is primarily part of the thing Amadioha, which one can be called by his name, and two contains other saints, aka expansion people, named Amadioha. That one came from spirits. I explained it before. You can reference that. I'll leave that there. And then fifth, Neptune is an apex leader / world leader. Being an apex leader, that's a characteristic of the god of thunder. Now here's the bonus piece of information to go along with those points. Eat Brussels sprouts. Eat Brussels sprouts. And I do want to note, I think I've given these points before on a previous live stream. I know that. I knew that coming in. But from now on, whenever I release a raw clip, there's going to be a live stream to go along with that, giving the same points. And that's aggression. That's this segment. And, you know, that's why I'm doing that here. But since I said these things before, both these exact points, but then also I've just given other versions of this. This is also the hand of God, because the hand of God is where I come to say something again in a more refined way. Anyway, at least I added something to it. But then there's that bonus piece of information, eat Brussels sprouts. Now, let's go to the Ukuchukwu. Here's the bonus piece of information to go along with that. And please read this entire sentence. Every word is important. Have multiple healthy romantic relationships. Have multiple healthy romantic relationships. And I'll leave it at that. Now for the hand of God. And I just want to say this. The hand of God does not glorify God. The hand of God smacks him in the face, because God is the manifestation of ignorance. How can you be so ignorant that you genuinely think you can do everything by yourself? Here's some metaphysical information. Define Ezua, world leader, in your own terms. In my own terms, what is a world leader? A world leader is a person who, after initial action has begun, refines what is already being done by setting an example and giving commands. And I'll leave it at that. But to expand upon this, they should have natural gravitational pull. And to be good, they do not force. They simply hold their own, assert their own rights, and say what they think should be done. Let me move. All right, now for the double question. First, do you worship any supernatural entities? Do you worship any supernatural entities? And second, do you like your name? Do you like your name? Anyway, that's all. Here's the piece of paper. I made these notes months ago. I recorded that raw clip back in March 20th. I'm just releasing it now. Because, you know, I was thinking of my release strategy, something I'm still working on. And then, of course, I had other work I'm doing. And then, as I've been saying before, my health is not 100%, although I can very much see the light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, that's what this is. Thank you very much. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please also patronize my business. You can buy my art on Patreon. You can buy my merchandise in my merch shops, and also merchandise is available if you subscribe on Patreon. Please also subscribe on Patreon. You can subscribe for free and get notifications. And then you can subscribe at various paid tiers for additional benefits. At the lowest tier, you get entered into a raffle, which I'll do periodically. And then also you get access to art. And then at the highest tiers, you do get merchandise. And then you can donate. You can donate on Buy Me a Coffee. That one's new. I made a Buy Me a Coffee for OZ Ibenwuku. Check that out. You can also donate on PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. PayPal, Venmo, and Cash App. Check all those out in my About section. Since I'm almost at the 1 hour mark, I'm really just going to wait until this has been over an hour, and then I'll be out of here. Thank you very much. Let me put up another short. Ooh. But I think I also want to add something else. there are many ways to engage with supernatural entities in general. And I think that obviously because we're in a time where metaphysical information is not as widespread as it should be, but then also because, just practically speaking, it can just be difficult for most people to, at least many people, to contact and see supernatural entities. Because of all that, I would never demand that everyone engage with them the same way. And also, I think reasonable people can agree or disagree about things like even their existence. At the same time, we must be open to the prospect of their existence and then take seriously the information that has been handed down to us about them. Because at the end of the day, information comes from somewhere. So when we have all this wealth of information about various supernatural entities, we must look into it and see the best way to use that information. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. So yeah, obviously that applies to Neptune and other entities. But thank you very much. CHIMAOGE here. See you next time. This has been Aggression, Kamalu, the peak of the God of Thunder, and also the Hand of God, the final expansion. Thank you very much. See you next time. All right.